you have to attend that, and in March you have to submit the examination form for all the courses. Okay.
8 सब्जेक्ट का भी जून में ही एग्जाम देना होगा?
जी 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 जी।
बाद में दिसंबर में नहीं दे सकते सर?
दे सकते हैं आप। 4 अभी दे लो, 4 दिसंबर में दे लेना।
4 अभी देके 4 दिसंबर में दे सकते हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है?
कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है।
और असाइनमेंट 8 भी मार्च में ही सबमिट करना है या 4 अभी और 4 बाद में जून में सबमिट कर सकते
नहीं,
हैं?
अभी कर दो तो अच्छा है, लेकिन
हाँ।
अगर आपके पास टाइम है तो अभी सारे कर दो, नहीं है तो फिर बाद में कर देना, नवंबर में।
नहीं हो पाया तो बाद में कर सकते हैं ना?
हाँ, सितंबर में कर देना।
ओके, थैंक यू सर।
ओके
सर मैं शिवम है। सर मेरे को ये पूछना था, हमने अभी सारे एग्जाम दे रहे हैं, 4 एग्जाम मैं बीबीए के दे रहा हूँ। इसमें अगर बाय चांस किसी में कुछ नंबर के ऐसे कम हो जाता है, 1-2 नंबर के से, तो हम फिर दे सकते हैं?
हाँ, फिर दे सकते हैं, लेकिन आपको एग्जाम फॉर्म भरना पड़ेगा उसका भी।
अच्छा, फिर से एग्जाम फॉर्म भरना पड़ेगा खाली उसी सब्जेक्ट का एक और?
हाँ, उसी का, या जितने रह गए हैं वो कर सकते हो।
और सर हमें असाइनमेंट का पता कैसे चलेगा? और
क्या चीज?
असाइनमेंट जो हमारे रह गए हैं। और
तो असाइनमेंट सबमिट होने से रह गए हैं?
हाँ मतलब, हाँ पता नहीं चल रहा कि हमने असाइनमेंट सबमिट करे थे, हमारा हुए हैं नहीं हुए हैं।
नहीं, वो आप अपने रजिस्ट्रेशन स्टेटस पे जाके देखो।
अच्छा।
तो जब जाके देखोगे तो उसमें आ जाएगा असाइनमेंट सबमिशन स्टेटस, एक नीचे टैब है, उसको क्लिक करोगे तो आ जाएगा कि अगर अवार्ड्स आ रहे हैं, उसमें लिखा होगा कि योर अवार्ड्स हैज बीन रिसीव्ड एंड अंडर
अच्छा सर।
तो समझ लो कि आपके चेक हो गए। अदरवाइज
अच्छा।
अगर कुछ नहीं आ रहा है और आपने सबमिट किए हैं, तो इसका मतलब है कि स्टडी सेंटर से अवार्ड्स नहीं आए आपके, जहां पे जमा किए हैं आपने। और उसके बाद आपको पता लग जाएगा कि जब अवार्ड्स आ जाएंगे तो उसमें आ जाएगा। अगर नहीं चेक होके आए हैं तो फिर वो अभी तक पेंडिंग में है, बाद में हो जाएगा। अगर नहीं होते तो आप अपने रीजनल सेंटर को लिख दीजिएगा।
अच्छा सर, फिर बाकी जो मैंने 4 रह गए अभी हमारे, तो उसके असाइनमेंट हमें पता कैसे चलेंगे कौन से बनाने हैं?
जो रह गए हैं तो वो आप असाइनमेंट क्वेश्चन उतारोगे ना, आपको पता है किस किस के जमा किए हैं।
हाँ जी।
हाँ, तो बस अब आप जो है वो असाइनमेंट क्वेश्चंस जो है डाउनलोड करोगे, नेक्स्ट जो असाइनमेंट रह गए हैं उसके जमा कर दोगे आप।
ओके सर।
ओके, राइट।
यस सर।
ओके
सर।
हाँ, बोलिए।
सर सेकंड सेमेस्टर के जो असाइनमेंट होते हैं वो कब आते हैं?
अब आ जाएंगे, आप देख लीजिए, आ
जैन।
गए होंगे।
सर अभी आ गए होंगे?
मैं एक सेकंड देख लेता हूँ आपके सेकंड सेमेस्टर की क्या है।
हेलो सर, जो असाइनमेंट्स हैं उसमें वैलिडेशन डेट जो लिखी है वो जून तक की लिखी है, तो जो दोबारा सेकंड सेमेस्टर आएगा तो उसमें हमें क्या अलग से असाइनमेंट सबमिट करने होंगे, या जो हमारे पास अभी अपलोडेड हैं वही बना कर दे सकते हैं?
वही बना के दे दीजिए।
और सर ये असाइनमेंट मिलेंगे कहाँ पे हमें?
जो लेटेस्ट अवेलेबल है वो बना के देने हैं।
अच्छा, जैसे कि आप बता रहे हैं कि सेकंड सेमेस्टर के आएंगे तो हम वो बना दे, कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि वो इनवैलिड हो जाए?
नहीं, वैलिड नहीं, जो भी लेटेस्ट अवेलेबल होंगे एट द टाइम ऑफ जब आप देख रहे हो उसको, तो आप वो कर दो। बस आपको करना ये है कि जो क्वेश्चन पेपर है,
चल रही है,
असाइनमेंट क्वेश्चन पेपर जो है वो आपको उसमें जो है अटैच करना है अपने आंसर शीट के साथ। ठीक है
सर, ओके, नोटेड सर।
सर बीबीए जनरल का असाइनमेंट सेकंड सेम का अभी तक नहीं आया साइट में?
अभी आया नहीं है।
नहीं, आ गया होगा। देखिए, आप सब्जेक्ट वाइज देखिए, जैसे BEGLA है अगर या BEVAE है, उसका अलग से रहता है। आप अगर उसमें
वो तो
बीबीए में
वो तो सर फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में आ गया, वो फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में आ गया, लेकिन जो BCOC 131 है या फिर ECO7 जो है वो नहीं आया अभी तक, सेकंड सेमेस्टर वाला।
अभी साइट चल नहीं रही है, अदरवाइज मैं अब देख लेता। अभी वो साइट कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, नहीं आया होगा तो आ जाएगा एक हफ्ते में।
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
हेलो सर, प्लीज अब आप पढ़ाना शुरू कर दीजिए।
वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ, आप लोग।
हेलो, लास्ट क्वेश्चन सर, ये असाइनमेंट्स मिलेंगे कहाँ पर सर? मुझे कोई आइडिया
सर अभी असाइनमेंट आए नहीं है।
तो ठीक है, वेट कर लीजिए, एक हफ्ते तक आ जाएंगे।
मेल पे आएंगे सर?
हाँ
सर, ये बीबीए के पेपर ईयरली होते हैं?
जी
सर ये ईयरली होते हैं पेपर? मैंने +2 के बाद मतलब अभी तक कोई पेपर नहीं दिए।
तो अब आप दीजिए ना बीसीए के।
BBA सर, BBA।
हाँ तो बीबीए के कुछ जो होते हैं अभी जून में होने थे, कुछ जून में होंगे, तो आप जून में दे दीजिएगा। अब तो आप नहीं दे पाओगे।
ओके, मतलब सारे पेपर जून में ही होंगे।
हाँ।
और सर ये असाइनमेंट कहाँ से चेक करनी है कि कौन कौन सी देनी है? मेरे पास कोई मेल या टेक्स्ट तो आया नहीं।
सर वो मेल और टेक्स्ट के चक्कर में मत रहिए। आपसे मैंने कल, आप शायद थे नहीं, मैंने।
नहीं सर, मेरी फर्स्ट काउंसलिंग है ये।
हाँ तो इंडक्शन मीटिंग भी नहीं हुई है। दैट इज द
हाँ जी।
प्रॉब्लम। हमारा सारा टाइम इसी में निकल जाता है। खैर ये भी जरूरी है। काउंसलिंग तो यही है कि आप लोगों को हर तरीके से मदद किया जाए, रादर देन आपके सब्जेक्ट की। तो इसमें प्रॉब्लम यह है कि आप जो है जाके प्रोग्राम गाइड पढ़िए या वेबसाइट देखिए, तो उसमें असाइनमेंट जो है, आप असाइनमेंट क्वेश्चन डाउनलोड करेंगे, आप अपना कोर्सेज जो जो आपके एंटर है अपने रजिस्ट्रेशन स्टेटस में देखकर, जितने हैं फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर या सेकंड सेमेस्टर के जिसके आपको एग्जाम देना है,
ठीक है
उसके
सर।
कोर्सेज के आपको नाम पता है अपने, आप जिसमें रजिस्टर्ड हुए, मुझे नहीं पता, आपको पता,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सर, बिल्कुल।
उन्हीं के असाइनमेंट सबमिट करने हैं आपको, और वो डाउनलोड करने हैं आपको वेबसाइट से, इग्नू की।
ओके, मतलब वेबसाइट से मटेरियल मिल जाएगा, उसकी असाइनमेंट्स बनानी है?
मटेरियल नहीं मिल जाएगा, क्वेश्चंस मिल जाएंगे।
ओके ओके,
वो आपको
मतलब
असाइनमेंट
टॉपिक्स मिल जाएंगे।
टॉपिक्स मिल
सर
जाएंगे।
हेलो 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 सर, मैं कहना चाहता हूँ, अब अगर किसी को कोई डाउट्स है तो वो लास्ट में पूछे प्लीज, अभी पढ़ाना आप शुरू कीजिए।
भाई तेरा ग्रुप चल रहा है पीडीएफ सॉल्व करके देने का, बाकी को पढ़ के पास करना है। तेरे पास जगह क्या है, हमारे पास, या हमें हमारे क्वेश्चन डाउट्स क्लियर करने दो।
भाई पहले पढ़ाई कर ले रहे हैं, डाउट्स क्लियर
भाई
लास्ट में कर
बस कर,
लेंगे
तूने
ना।
चैट में बहुत गंद मचा रखा है, बस कर। अब हमें भी, हमें क्वेश्चन डाउट्स
ठीक
क्लियर
है,
करने थे।
तो डाउट्स क्लियर तुम
खाली तूने
लास्ट में
पे
करो,
नहीं किया,
यहाँ पे
हमने भी पे
पढ़ने
किया
आए हैं
भाई।
भाई।
बस
एक
अपनी बैच
मिनट,
बंद करने, सर को बोलने दे।
एक मिनट, दोनों मत कीजिए। दोनों चीजें आप पूछिए। आपके अगर डाउट नहीं क्लियर होंगे तो आप अपना कोर्स नहीं पूरा कर पाएंगे। जब आप फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर है, आपका पहली बार है, तो आप क्लियर कर लीजिए जो डाउट। डोंट माइंड, आप पढ़ाई भी कर लीजिए और वो
अरे
भी,
लेकिन
क्योंकि
सर
अगर आपके क्लियर नहीं होंगे तो डिस्टेंस मोड
नहीं
में
नहीं,
आप
लेकिन
पढ़ा रहे हैं
जो
आपको।
जो जो पॉइंट शिवम बोल रहा है दैट इज ऑल्सो राइट सर। 2 दिन से यही चल रहा है, हम डाउट्स ही क्लियर कर रहे हैं,
हाँ।
टॉपिक्स पे आए नहीं कर रहे हैं।
हम्म।
दैट्स व्हाई वी आर सेइंग कि आप पढ़ाना चालू कर दे, फिर एट द एंड ऑफ द टाइम हम एक हाफ एन आवर का टाइम दे सकते हैं, जहाँ पे हम
So
उनको बोल
now,
सकते हैं हाफ
now
एन आवर
we'll
में
take,
पूछ लो।
now we, no, no, we will take up uh, we'll take up the ecosystem today. Okay, what is an ecosystem? Anybody can tell me what is the ecosystem? I told you yesterday also about an ecosystem. What is an ecosystem? बताइए, इकोसिस्टम क्या होता है? What is ecosystem? What is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is a geographic area where all the uh, living organisms, I think plants, animals, and other organisms, as well as weather, abiotic, and landscape work together to form a to create a life. Ecosystem contain biotic or living parts, as abiotic factors or non-living parts. हाँ जी।
So I just wanted to say that. So when you're reading, could you tell the page numbers if you are having the notes, so that we know like from where you're reading
Your
the
ecos
paragraph?
your ecos study material page number.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Let me open that also. But I was just taking up the topic randomly. It is page. Uh, just open that. Should I open that?
It is 21, sir.
It is yes, 21. It is 21. ठीक है। आप लोगों ने पढ़ के आए होंगे, मैंने कल कहा था आपसे, यू शुड स्टडी योर स्टडी मटेरियल, लुक एट दैट एंड देन कम टू द काउंसलिंग। दैट विल prepare for that will help you in preparing your for examination also. So please see that before coming to the, if you have any doubt then you can clear that portion. But anyways, Now, what is an ecosystem? I was telling you, ecosystem is defined as a community of life forms in concurrence with the non-living components interacting with each other. What does it mean? It means we are living in an ecosystem which is created. We have light from the sun, we get energy, and under that energy, different life forms occurs. And when we interact, the life forms occurs when interacts with the non-living component, that is air, water, and energy. Then we sustain our life. We grow as a life system. So, uh, what ecosystem is always an structural and functional unit of ecology, where the living organisms interact with each other and the surrounding environment. What is our surrounding environment? We always interact with our surrounding environment. We don't live like that idle. In other words, an ecosystem is a chain of interaction between organisms and their environment. This term ecosystem was first coined by A.G. Tansley, an English botanist, in 1935. Since then, we know all about the different research have been done on the ecosystem, and new chronology develops. The structure. Now, what is the structure of the ecosystem? That is important, and you have to focus on this also. The structure of an ecosystem is characterized by organization of both biotic and abiotic components. What is the biotic components and abiotic components? Please tell me. Yesterday we discussed about
Sir,
biotic and
So
biotic means
adiabatic,
living.
Biotic
okay.
components are living components,
One by one.
and abiotic
Unbiotic are non-living thing.
हाँ,
parasite.
yes, correct.
Please speak one by one.
This includes the distribution of energy in our environment. Uh, this is also the ecosystem structure which is there, that also depends on the energy distribution, how the energy from the sun and other things is distributed among the ecosystem. Climatic condition in that particular environment. Suppose we are living in a northern part of India, we have a different climatic condition from the south or west or east. So we also interact with our surrounding climatic condition. The structure of an ecosystem has the two components mainly, abiotic components and abiotic components. Uh, the biotic and abiotic components are interrelated in an ecosystem. It is always an open system where the energy and components can flow throughout the boundaries. जो बाउंड्रीज है एक इकोसिस्टम की सपोज, तो बट एनर्जी कंपोनेंट्स फ्लो थ्रू आउट द बाउंड्रीज, सारी बाउंड्रीज में वो एनर्जी जो है फ्लो करती है, दैट इज नॉट stuck to one ecosystem. Okay, so now the biotic factors has three components, that is producers, consumers, and decomposers. And that is only for the biotic components. That has three: producers, consumers, and decomposers. What are the producers? Who are the producers?
plants.
प्लांट है जो सर हमें चीजें देते हैं,
Okay, good.
इन्वायरमेंट.
हाँ, तो और based on nutrition, producers include all autotrophs such as plants. That is, producers is also called autotrophs, such as plants. They are called autotrophs. Okay, as they can produce food through the process of photosynthesis. Right? The plant takes sunlight from the sun, and in turn uh, mm, they produce the food through the process of photosynthesis, as all we know, and we have read in our earlier classes also. If you are the student of the science or anything, consequently, all other organisms higher up on the food chain rely on producers or for food. Now we rely on the food system. Consumers are heterophores. Consumers क्या होते हैं? What are the consumers? They are called heterophores. Heterophs. They are organisms that depend on other organisms for food. For food, consumers are further classified into primary consumers. Now these consumers are further classified as a primary consumers, secondary consumers, or tertiary consumers. Right? For food, consumers. Now, what are the primary consumers? Are always herbivorous, as they rely on producers for food. Herbivorous. What do you mean by herbivorous? They are
Who
not
eats green plants?
plants and grass and like grasshoppers and trees or
शाकाहारी.
a goat. Pardon? Now, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Someone was telling that I'm not audible. Okay. For food consumer, now this secondary consumers are depend on primary consumers for energy. Suppose they can either be carnivorous or omnivorous. Carnivorous means they eat,
Who
suppose
eat other
They
animals?
eating a flesh.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
or
Or
omnivorous.
omnivorous.
Secondary, uh, thus remember that the secondary consumer can be both carnivorous or omnivorous. Now the tertiary consumers, that is are organisms that depend on secondary consumers for food. Tertiary consumer can also be carnivorous or omnivorous or can be a both, right?
Yes, sir.
And there is some other that is not, I think, mentioned in the, but that is a quaternary consumers is also there, but that is not more important. Three are the mains. Within the tertiary consumer, there are quaternary consumers who are present in some food chain. These organisms prey on tertiary consumers for energy. Furthermore, they are usually at the top of a food chain as they have no natural predators. Like anybody can tell. Uh, Suppose there are the lion and some animals are there. We cannot pray for them, but they pray for other uh, animals. So the chain of on these are the on the top of the food chain. Now the decomposers. What are the decomposers? The third, producer, consumers, and decomposers. What is the decomposers? Please tell me. What
The
are the
consumer and producer, when they die, they are called decomposers.
okay, okay,
Sir जी like earthworm.
हाँ,
हाँ,
right,
right.
अर्थवॉर्म क्योंकि वो मिट्टी में मिला देते जो खाद बना दे.
हाँ,
हाँ, हाँ.
correct.
Correct.
तो ये
The decomposers are simply those microorganisms which eat the decay flesh of
हाँ,
the animals or dead
so
items.
correct. That is the most correct answer. And both the consumer and producer complete their life cycle. When the consumers and producer complete their life cycle and die, the new generation of their population develop. And what is happening to the dead organism? In this system, the continuous breaking up or decomposition of the organic matter of the dead organisms, and there is a continuous cycling of recycling of the materials. So life goes on. In such a manner, a ecosystem develops. These are all the components of the decomposers. Uh, an ecosystem. Now, there are the we were discussing these things in the biotic components. Now, what are the abiotic components? Abiotic components are non-living component of an ecosystem. It includes air, water, minerals, sunlight, temperature, nutrients, wind, altitude, turbidity, etc. These are all the abiotic components which have no life. ठीक है, correct? They affect the abiotic components affect the biotic components. In these abiotic and abiotic components have relation to each other. If abiotic components are not there, then the life will not uh, sustain. So when the components interact with abiotic components, then the life grows. As you all aware, we have the sunlight, we should have the air also to breathe, oxygen, then the soil, then the mineral, and temperature is also there. If temperature is not very certain, um plants will not grow, nutrients will not come. So this is the interaction between the. So in that manner, we should know that we have the environment is very necessary, such type of environment in which we interact to each other in an environment. We now, what is the functions of a ecosystem? What are the functions? We should know also the function. These are the components. एन इकोसिस्टम में हमने कंपोनेंट्स को जाना, अब इसके फंक्शंस क्या होते हैं? तो फंक्शन जो है वो आप इतना ध्यान रखिए, इट रेगुलेट्स द एसेंशियल इकोलॉजिकल प्रोसेस, supports life system and renders stability to a life. It also responsible for the cycling of nutrients between biotic and abiotic components. It maintains a balance among the various trophic levels in the ecosystem. It cycles the minerals through the biosphere. One thing is left. Now, what in an ecosystem as a whole? Ecosystem can be a very small unit or a very large unit. Suppose we are living as a global, there is a biosphere. And three things are very important. Biosphere includes land, water, and next thing is, what is that? Anybody can tell? Largest ecosystem जो है वो what is that? That is biosphere. Okay?
जो पानी के अंदर है।
नहीं, not like that. Not like that. What is the biosphere?
Sir?
Biosphere is the largest ecosystem on the earth, right? There is a small pond that is also has its ecosystem, and next is a city or or some area. We can say it has a good biosystem. Forest is also a biosystem, but we when talk all the ecosystem, that is largest ecosystem, that is biosphere, that is called biosphere. And biosphere has the lithosphere, that is a land, hydrosphere is water, atmosphere is the
Gaseous.
air, ठीक है, or the gaseous envelope of the earth that extends up to the height of around 22.5 kilometer, I think, if you correct me. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, तो एटमॉस्फेयर जो है कहाँ तक ऊपर है हमारे, जब हम देखेंगे तो यहाँ से लेके और 22.5 किलोमीटर तक जो एटमॉस्फेयर है उसमें तरह तरह की गैसेस हैं जिससे हम सस्टेन कर सकते हैं, जहाँ लाइफ है. अबव दैट लाइफ इज नॉट पॉसिबल विदाउट एनी सपोर्ट, ओके, आर्टिफिशियल सपोर्ट. तो दैट इज हाइड्रोस्फीयर, एटमॉस्फेयर एंड लिथोस्फीयर, लैंड सिस्टम. अब इसके बीच में देयर इज अ इम्पोर्टेंट कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ इम्पोर्टेंट ऑफ लाइफ. क्या हो गया कि बेसिक प्रोसेस ऑफ फोटोसिंथेसिस एंड रेस्पिरेशन अकर्स इन दिस रीजन आल्सो ओनली. तो दिस इज इम्पोर्टेंट. एंड लाइफ is sustainable from the below earth. Suppose we go down on the sea, then the life only uh, is sustainable up to the 11,000 meters below the surface. And top, about the top, I think I 22.5 kilometers or 9,000 meter above the sea level. The life is, there is a called a ecosystem. Above that, the life is not uh, possible without any artificial support. ठीक है, तो ये सारी चीजें जो है ये आप थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखिएगा। और इसके बाद जो है मैं
सर
आपको,
टाइप्स ऑफ फूड चेन के बारे में एक बार बता दो।
मैं बताऊंगा, आऊंगा उसके बाद। टाइप्स मैंने अभी जो है आपको आया ही हूँ अभी उस पे। I'll go for through that also. Now the functions, we were the functions at the functions of the ecosystem. The actually, now the abiotic components help in the synthesis or organic components that involve, what is what is the involvement of the abiotic components? Synthesis में क्या help करता है? Exchange of energy. When there is a exchange of energy between abiotic and abiotic, that is called synthesis. Okay,
Yes, sir.
we get the energy from the sunlight. So the functional unit of the ecosystem or functional components that work together in an ecosystem are productivity. Productivity, the rate of biomass production. What is the productivity? It is the rate of the biomass production. Energy flow. What is the energy flow? It is the sequential process through which energy flows from one trophic level to another. ओके, एक एक सिस्टम है, एक फूड चेन का सिस्टम है कि नीचे से एनर्जी जो है, जैसे प्लैंक्टॉन्स हैं, दे ग्रो द ग्रास एंड फंगी एंड एटसेट्रा, देन एनर्जी गोज टू अनदर लेवल, upper level. Always the energy flows in that food chain system from lower to higher, and it is not all opposite, not from top to below. It always goes from below to top. So decomposition, now it is the process of breaking down of organic material, as one of you just explained the definition of decomposers very nicely. Dead organic material, the topsoil is the major site of for decomposition. Nutrient cycling. Then there is a nutrient cycling. In an ecosystem, nutrients are consumed and of the utilization of various organisms. Suppose someone was earthworm, then is recycled back in the form of utilization by various organisms. We use these all the material which is suppose fertilizer we used to take from the earthworm. Then the types of ecosystem. What are the types of ecosystem? That ecosystem can be as small as an oasis in a desert, I was just telling you, or as big as an ocean spanning thousands of miles. There are two types of ecosystem. One is terrestrial ecosystem and second is aquatic ecosystem. Right?
Yes, sir.
What are the terrestrial ecosystem? The terrestrial
Which are
ecosystem, are
which
just,
are present on land like deserts and all.
yes. Terrestrial ecosystem are exclusively land-based ecosystem. There are different types of terrestrial ecosystem distributed around various geological zones. They are they are, what are the forest ecosystem? I just told you, grassland ecosystem, then tundra ecosystem and desert ecosystem.
Yes, sir.
All these ecosystem exist in the biosphere, right?
Yes, sir.
Biosphere. I told you the biosphere includes the land and land. So all these ecosystem are the part of the terrestrial ecosystem, right? What are the forest ecosystem? The forest ecosystem consists of several plants. We know, particularly trees, animals. There are the animals also, microorganisms that live in the soil or plants conditioned with the abiotic factors of the environment. And that under that particular environment of the forest ecosystem, suppose we have some what are the types of the forest? Anybody can tell?
Yes, sir.
Tropical forest or tropical, subtropical forest.
Tropical forest, tropical rainforest,
Yes.
tropical seasonal forest,
Hmm.
temperate evergreen
Deciduous
forest,
forest.
temperate deciduous
Deciduous
forest,
forest. Yes, yes, yes.
confluence forest,
Yes, yes.
subtropical rainforest.
Subtropical. So they have the different environmental system. Okay. Under that different environmental system, the different type of animals, we will find the different of flora and fauna under these conditions. Okay. So these forest system are the ecosystem forest system. In so all on what condition they help? They depends on the temperature of that particular area and the major carbon sink. So what are the gaseous forms and temperature and how the sunlight and the rain all depends on that. That ecosystem depends on these conditions. All the ecosystem depends on the abiotic conditions. So grassland, and then there is a grassland ecosystem. The vegetation is in that the vegetation is dominated by grass and herbs. Temperate grasslands and tropical or savanna grassland, you might have heard of all these things, are examples of GRAD ecosystem, grassland ecosystem. Now there is a tundra ecosystem. Ecosystems are divided of trees. There is a cold climate. Some portions of the earth where the climate is very extremely cold. We don't have any life there actually on that. And not the microorganisms are almost absent in that also. So in that cold climate condition, the rainfall is scarce. These are covered with snow most of the year. Okay? Like in Arctic mountain tops. Then there is a desert ecosystem. These desert ecosystems are found normally all over the world. These regions with little rainfall or with no rainfall is very scarce vegetations are there. Only shrubs type of vegetation are found there. They the days normally are hot and the nights are cold in those regions. Then there is a aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem are always present in a body of a water. These can be further divided into two types. That is a freshwater ecosystem and the marine ecosystem. You know, what are the freshwater ecosystem? Hello? What are the freshwater ecosystem?
For which we can use for our self use. That is freshwater ecosystem.
No. What are the freshwater ecosystem on the land?
Like sir, river, streams, or pools.
Pools and the lakes. And the marine ecosystem, oceans. Include lakes, ponds, streams, and wetlands.
प्लीज तेरे फोन में भी खींचा था वही बहुत प्यार लगा था
Please mute your mic.
किसी ने सोचा वो बना के भेजे कुछ बनाई थी गुलाब मोमोज पता नहीं क्या बनाई थी जो
Sanjana, Sanjana, you just Sanjana, please mute your mic.
सर आप कर दो ना अपने यहाँ से।
मैं ही करे देता हूँ, हो गया। Okay, now we were freshwater marine freshwater ecosystem. So all we know that includes lake, ponds, river, streams, and more importantly the wetlands. Now we are focusing on the preservation of the wetlands also these days. In India, is also the focus is to preserve our wetlands because they are the main part of the ecosystem. These have no salt content in a contrast with the marine ecosystem. The freshwater ecosystem has no salt content in that particular marine ecosystem, where we have the concentration of the salt content is very high, and the water is not used for drinking and other purposes. These have and but they have greater biodiversity than the freshwater ecosystem. So, marine system is equally important for the various types of animals and plants and molluscs and other fishes. So, it is a very rich ecosystem in terms of life. So, now, what is the important concepts? क्या है? On what basis? What we learn? So there is a food chain that is very important in the one ecosystem. What is the food chain? Please tell me. Tell me any point. What is the food chain?
सर जो फूड चेन वो हो जाता है जिसमें हम बर्ड्स अगर मानो किसी को खा रही है उसके बाद जो इंसेक्ट है वो भी कहीं ना कहीं किसी के फूड के लिए आ जाता है। जैसे एक प्रोडक्ट जो है वो किसी और के लिए यूज के लिए आ जा रहा है।
There are almost the 6 level, not more than this in the food chain. Now we start from the lower. The sun is ultimate source of energy on the earth, as all we know. What is thus? It provides energy required for plant or animals for life. The plant utilize this energy for the process of photosynthesis, which is used to synthesize their food. What is the work of the plants? What is the work of sunlight in the plants? As all it is create the process of photosynthesis, and in turn the plants synthesize their food, which uh, which is taken by other or second layer. Now, in the biological process, light energy is converted into chemical energy. In that process, light energy is converted due to photosynthesis into chemical energy and is passed through successive trophic levels. There are the 6 trophic levels. The flow of energy from a producer to a consumer. And this energy through the food passes through where? From a consumer and eventually to an apex predator, which I told you, the lion and other animals, those who cannot be prey, but who prey for others to sustain their life. An apex predator or a detritivore is called the food chain, जो नीचे से ऊपर की तरफ जाता है और ऊपर जाके खत्म हो जाता है 6 ट्रॉफिक लेवल्स पर. देयर आर द 6 ट्रॉफिक लेवल्स. देन द कंज्यूमर्स नीचे का है और जो प्रोड्यूसर्स है और फिर कंज्यूमर्स और कंज्यूमर्स से ऊपर अलग अलग, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया एक चेन है, कुछ हर्बीवोरस है, कुछ कार्निवोरस है, कुछ बोथ है. तो दीज आर द levels on which the energy passes through. and then dead and decaying matter along with the organic debris is broken down into constituents by the scavengers. The reducer then absorbs these constituents. After gaining the energy, the reducers liberate molecules to the environment, which can be utilized again by the producers. तो ये एक फूड चेन चलती रहती है आपको, जैसे कि मान कि आप पहले ग्रास हुआ, प्लांट हुआ एनर्जी से, फिर ग्रास होपर्स, सपोज कीजिए ग्रास होपर्स ने वो दैट ईट द ग्रास, and the grasshoppers is eaten by some other animals like rat and others, and birds, and uh, grass is also eaten by the cows, goat and other things. And then other is the suppose in the rat is eaten by the snakes, and snakes is eaten by the eagle, and so on. This chain goes on, and our energy passes through to one each other. The eagle is this chain goes on. So on that basis, the ecological process goes on. There are the 6 trophic levels I told you already, and not more than this. So, and the energy is losses. And I also told you that on energy is always flows from low to high, from lower trophic level to higher trophic level. Right now, the food chain. What is the food chain? That can be defined as a linear sequence of a links of the organism, which an organism becomes food for the next organism. That is the only the definition of the food chain. What does it means? It is a linear sequence. एक सीक्वेंस है जिसमें के एक ऑर्गेनिज्म एक दूसरे से जुड़े हुए हैं. जब आप ऑब्जर्व करोगे अपने सराउंडिंग्स में, when you will observe all the things closely, monitor, that you will find that each thing all dependent on each other. We human depend on the vegetables, plants, and also animals, which we can eat for the sustenance. Are different type of, suppose in desert area, most of the people depends on the meat rather than vegetables. Why? Because they don't have the vegetable in excess to meet their food requirement. In temperate or cold environment, there is also a lack of vegetables. So they depend on the animals for the sustenance of their life. So food habits are dependent on the surrounding environment of on the ecosystem and the environment of that particular area or ecosystem. So all food habits are developed on the basis of the environment, surrounding environment. So these types of food chain. Now there are many types of food chains are there. Then the grazing food chain. What are the types? The grazing food chains means which the the animals of they depend on the grazing, means they eat the plants for their food chains, green plants, and the detritus food chain. Detritus food chain, what is that? This type of food chain starts from dead organic matter of decaying and metabolic waste. What they depend on the डिकेइंग जो एनिमल्स है उन पे डिपेंड करते हैं. ठीक है. और दे आर द हर्बीवोरस और predators. Both eat, they can eat, are carnivorous or herbivorous both. Then the parasite and the such type of food chain goes on. Then there is an ecological pyramid. On the basis of the food chain, scientists made a pyramid. It is called pyramid. An ecological pyramid is a graphical representation of the number energy and biomass of the successive trophic levels of an ecosystem.
सर पैरासिटिक फूड चेन समझ नहीं आया बिल्कुल।
अच्छा, पैरासाइट से आप क्या मतलब समझते हो?
सर जो बैक्टीरियाज होते हैं वो सब।
हाँ, वो पैरासाइट they depends on other things. Suppose what are the parasites? Parasites are, suppose there is an animal, okay, and the small insects live on their body, correct?
Yes sir.
And they depend on the they take from, don't take energy or food from their own, but they take from their body, है ना? That are the parasite, those who lives on other living things, है ना?
Yes sir.
they don't normally kill the host. ये किल तो नहीं करते, बट उनसे फूड लेते रहते हैं। Am I clear now?
Yes sir.
What is that?
सर
Tell me. There
सर
are
एक एग्जांपल से बता दो पैरासिटिक फूड चेन।
हमारे पे हो सकता है सर?
पार्डन बताइए
सर पैरासिटिक फूड चेन एग्जांपल से बता दो एक बार।
हाँ, मैं कहता रहा हूँ कि जैसे कि आपने बहुत से आपने काव देखी होगी, काव के ऊपर बहुत से छोटे छोटे ऑर्गेनिज्म से चिपके रहते हैं कीड़े, जिनको हटाते हैं। तो काव को एक नुकसान तो नहीं पहुंचाते, पर उसको दे डोंट हार्म देम, बट दे टेक their blood or suck their blood or some flesh or suck their blood to sustain for the sustenance their life. The parasite is nothing. The parasite are the things which depends on the other body. These for their living. So parasite are this.
तो सर ये यूजुअली कितने लेवल का होगा?
मैं बता रहा हूँ, parasite an organism that lives in or on an organism for of another species and benefits by driving nutrients at the other's expense. ऐसे ही बहुत सी चीजें हैं, जैसे सपोज कीजिए आपका प्लांट्स है, देयर इज अ प्लांट समथिंग एंड सम स्मॉल ऑर्गेनिज्म जो है वो उसके ऊपर रहते हैं। आपने देखा होगा कि वो उसको जो है प्लांट को धीरे 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 पत्तों को खाते रहते हैं। तो वो व्हाट दे टेक ड्राइव न्यूट्रिएंट्स फ्रॉम अदर ऑर्गेनिज्म। मेरे ख्याल से अब आप समझ गए होंगे।
यस सर। तो सर ये यूजुअली 3 या 4 लेवल का होता है?
3 या 4 लेवल का होता है। पैरासिट का जो पैरासिट से बना है, अगर हम इसको पैरासिट भी कहें तो ये इसका एक प्रोनाउंसिएशन है। पैरासिट जो दूसरे के ऊपर बैठा हुआ है।
ओके सर।
In order to obtain nutrients or grow or multiply themselves in a state directly or indirectly harms the host. मतलब उसकी जान तो नहीं लेता, बट उसको हार्म पहुंचा सकता है। जैसे हमारे अंदर भी जब कोई बीमारी फैलती है तो कहते हैं ये पैरासाइट है, ये पैरासाइट है जो कि हमको हार्म पहुंचा रहा है। ठीक है, तो these type of parasites are the which depends on others for food chain. They don't grow food from there. जैसे प्लांट है, एक फोटोसिंथेसिस करता है, अपना फूड खुद उगाता है, देन वी टेक हर्बीवोरस कार्निवोरस, हमारा मेटाबॉलिज्म काम करता है, वो उसके ऊपर डिपेंड करता है। ठीक है। Now
yes sir, clear.
Now we were discussing the pyramid. So the biomass number and energy of organisms ranging from the producer level to consumer level are represented in the form of pyramid. It is known as the ecological pyramid. From producer level to consumer level, अगर आपने ग्राफिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन करना है तो आप कर लोगे। तो उसको जो बनाया गया है वो पिरामिड के रूप में बनाया गया है, और उसमें जो है producer सबसे lower part है, the producer is the lower part, lower level, and the consumer level is the top level. The base of the ecological pyramid comprise the producers, correct? Followed by a primary and secondary consumers or tertiary consumers. Then the tertiary consumers are the apex part or top part. In sub food chain, the quaternary consumers are all at the top, very apex of the food chain. I told you there is a small unit. They don't have. In some ecosystem, there is a quaternary consumers also there, apart from the tertiary consumer. So
Excuse me, sir.
Pardon?
Sir, can you please re-explain detritus food chain?
Which one food chain?
So detritus food chain, the second one which is given on the book, page number 30.
Page number 30. Let me go. Detritus. On page number 30, correct. Detritus food chain is nothing but जो decaying organism है, these are the decaying organism. जो सपोज कीजिए जो डेड होने पे है, डिके हो रहे हैं, तो उन पे कौन से डिपेंड करते हैं? अर्थवर्म करते हैं, मोल करते हैं, डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ वेस्ट जो मटेरियल है जो डिके हो रहा है, तो उनको जो है डेट्रिटियस बॉडी कहते हैं. डेट्रिटस फूड चेन मींस जो डिकेइंग बॉडी है, जैसे जो हमारे लिए सपोज कीजिए खत्म हो रही है, तो उसके ऊपर जो ऑर्गेनिज्म रहते हैं, जैसे अर्थवर्म है, वो आपने देखा होगा कि जो डेड ऑर्गेनिज्म उससे खाद बना लेते हैं, उससे ये कर लेते हैं, और उस पर कुछ मोल भी रहते हैं. जब बॉडी एक पड़ी रहती है डिके होने के लिए, तो उस पर डिफरेंट टाइप के ऑफ पैरासाइट या कीड़े, और आपने देखे होंगे मोल्स टाइप के, तो वो उसके ऊपर माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म जो उसको डिके करते हैं, तो वो उसको डिकम्पोजर्स भी कहलाते हैं. ठीक है. और वो उनके ऊपर जो ये इस टाइप के जो डिकम्पोजर्स और ये प्रीडेटर या जो मतलब खाने वाले, तो जो उस डिकेइंग मटेरियल है, द ऑर्गेनिज्म विच टेक द फूड फ्रॉम डिकेइंग मटेरियल और डिकेइंग एनिमल्स और डिकेइंग प्लांट्स, दे आर कॉल्ड द डिट्रिटियस फूड चेन. ओके,
थैंक यू सर.
कंज्यूम की जाती है किसी से. वो डिट्रिटियस फूड चेन क्या हो गया कि जो उसके ऊपर डिपेंड करते हैं डिकेइंग मटेरियल के ऊपर, डिकेइंग प्लांट्स.
यस सर.
ओके, वो डेट्रिटियस फूड चेन हो गया, उसको डेट्रिटियस फूड चेन कहेंगे. वो भी खत्म होता है. ठीक है. दिस इज नथिंग बट अ डिकम्पोजर्स, राइट?
यस सर.
तो ओके, now we should take a break or continue?
Continue, sir.
Okay, fine. The base of the ecological pyramid, what I told you, what is the base? This is the producers and so on. Then the tertiary and the quaternary consumers is at the top. The producers generally outnumber the primary consumers, and similarly the primary consumers outnumber the secondary consumers, correct? And lastly, apex predators also follow the same trend as the other consumers. Suppose just remember that the producers outnumber the primary consumers, and similarly so there is a balance in the ecosystem. Otherwise, the things will go haywire. The primary consumers outnumber the secondary consumers. Means secondary consumers are less than the primary consumers, and so on. The apex part, which are the predators. Predators. What are the predators? Anybody can tell? Huh?
So those are carnivorous and they hunt other animals for their food.
Yes, yeah, correct. Who is that? Some people are coming again. So now we understand the food chain. For example, now anybody can tell me the examples of producers?
सर प्रोड्यूसर में तो ग्रीन प्लांट्स
हाँ,
आते हैं
yes.
फ्रूट्स
Grasshoppers.
एंड
हाँ. No. For example, let's say grasshoppers feed on crops as cotton and wheat, which which are plentiful. Suppose you have that grasshoppers are plenty. These grasshoppers are then preyed upon the common mouse. Uh, some are the predators or mouse grasshoppers who खाते हैं, which are comparatively less in number. The mice are preyed upon by snakes. Just for example, I am telling you, such as cobras. Snakes are ultimately preyed on by apex predators such as brown snake, eagle. तो ईगल जो है ये स्नेक को खाता है. तो इसी तरीके से एक हमारी फूड चेन चलती रहती है. द फूड वेब इज अ नेटवर्क ऑफ इंटरकनेक्टेड फूड वेब. व्हाट इज फूड वेब? वेब Food web is a network of interconnected food chains. It comprises all the food chains within a single ecosystem. It helps in understanding that plants lay the foundation of all the food chain in a marine environment. There are the phytoplankton forms like the primary producer. These up Now you must have understand the food chain, food pyramid. It is not very
Excuse me, sir.
difficult part, but to understand, but a rough idea we had, and you, if you want to study in uh,
Sir,
detail, then you can go through your study material and see. But yes,
sir, I have a doubt. Can I ask?
हाँ
Sir, I have a doubt.
हाँ, बोलिए.
Sir, here it is written that shorter the food chain, more efficient it is. Can you please explain me?
हाँ, ये जो है shorter the food chain and what you told?
The shorter the food chain, more efficient it is.
हाँ,
As mm,
अगर फूड चेन शॉर्टर होगी तो इट इज ऑलवेज इफेक्टिव. व्हाई? बिकॉज द फूड चेन, अगर if there is a long food chain, then there are the more population and the food will be less. If there is a food chain is small or it is not very lengthy, then there will be a sufficient food for everyone. Okay, there are not the consumer in more quantity. So the food chain, if in a particular area is short, then it is always good. Okay,
okay.
so we have food for all the system. If the food chain goes longer, then it is not very efficient or not good for the ecosystem. But nowadays we are seeing that the food chain is so long. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now I think we have covered most of the things of ecosystem.
सर
हाँ, yes.
सर मुझे ये पूछना था कि बुक में तो 5 ट्रॉपिक लेवल्स दे रखे हैं और आप 6 बता रहे थे, तो 6 वाला कौन सा है?
नहीं, देखिए आप, मैंने इसीलिए कहा कि आप पढ़िए, उसको पढ़िए ठीक से. अपने आपके में दिया जरूर होगा. देखिए, फर्दर मोर देयर इज अ लॉस ऑफ मैंने आपको बताया कि 5 होते हैं, बट देर आर 6 इन अ 6 लेवल। कौन सा है? मैंने आपको एक बताया था क्वार्टनरी लेवल। क्वार्टनरी बताया था ना, क्वार्टनरी कंज्यूमर्स। आई टोल्ड यू अबाउट द क्वार्टनरी कंज्यूमर्स। देर आर द 6 लेवल। ठीक है? क्यों?
यस सर।
क्योंकि देखिए, क्वार्टनरी लेवल वो होता है जो प्रे करते हैं, वो कम है, दे आर लेस इन नंबर। तो technically there are the 6 level. It is in some conditions, not everywhere, not everywhere. In some forests there is no there is no 6 level. There is no lion or other predators, or the dog. The quaternary level and the consumers which belongs to quaternary level, they cannot be preyed for energy. Suppose lion is not eaten by, it is a lion is not preyed by other animals for eating, but they, when they die, they the decomposers or wolves take their flesh, but wolves cannot prey, normally prey in nature, the lion or tiger. So they are the these are the 6 level. These this 6 level exist, but these are not the common everywhere. So only there are the 5 levels, but it cannot be। देखिए, लिखा हुआ है आपके इसमें, पेज नंबर है आपका 29 में, 29 में आप जो है टॉप पर जाइए, और टॉप पर फिगर से पहले पढ़िए लास्ट, वो पढ़िए सेंटेंस, जस्ट read that sentence. As a result, there are usually 4 or 5 trophic levels and seldom more than 6, as beyond that very little energy is left to support any organism. Am I clear now?
Yes sir. Yes sir.
Yes, sir.
It is written there.
Yes sir.
सर सेकेंडरी और टेरिशरी कंज्यूमर्स जो होते हैं उनमें मतलब कौन कौन से एग्जांपल आएंगे? दोनों में कार्निवोर्स होते हैं ना?
दोनों में कार्निवोरस भी, ओमनिवोरस भी, दोनों में
तो
हो।
तो सर सेकेंडरी में छोटे वाले कार्निवोरस, फिर टेरिशरी में उनसे बड़े वाले?
उनसे बड़े वाले, करेक्ट।
ओके सर।
That is why they are kept in two different categories, right? And they are less in numbers, as I told you. Then as we go up, the number is less than the below. Okay,
ओके सर।
right that. Anything related to this ecosystem or food chain or levels? Now we have covered this topic. Now, what do you want to study?
सर
And what
साइकिल्स के बारे में।
what is the cycle? हाँ,
न्यूट्रिएंट साइकिल्स।
न्यूट्रिएंट साइकिल्स क्या होते हैं बताइए, आप भी बताइए, फिर मैं बताता हूँ।
सर साइकिल तो यूजुअली वही होता है कि यहाँ से एक लेवल से स्टार्ट होगा, फिर दूसरे लेवल पे जाएगा, और फिर दूसरे फॉर्म में आके फिर वापस वहीं पे आ जाता है।
हाँ, ठीक है। The nutrient cycle, what is the nutrient cycle? Is a system where energy and matter are transferred between living organisms and non-living parts of the environment. ठीक है, ये वही चीज है। एक सर्किल चलता है हमारे एनवायरनमेंट में जो आप देखते हैं, सिस्टम वेयर एनर्जी एंड मेटर्स आर ट्रांसफर्ड बिटवीन लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म एंड नॉन लिविंग एनवायरनमेंट्स ऑफ द पार्ट, means abiotic and biotic. This occurs as animals and plants consume nutrients from the soil, correct? And these nutrients are then released back into the environment via death and decomposition. करेक्ट? एक ये साइकिल, न्यूट्रिएंट साइकिल चलता रहता है इसी तरीके से जैसे कि फूड चेन चलती रहती है, राइट? And so then how can we define nutrient cycle? Nutrient cycle uh, is defined as the cyclic pathway. Just listen, cyclic pathway by which nutrients pass through in order to be recycled and reutilized. The pathway comprises then that what is that pathway comprises which help in nutrient cycle is cells, organism, community and ecosystem. Correct? In this process, in that whole process, nutrients get absorbed, transformed, released and reabsorbed by other things. It is a natural cycling system of mineral nutrients. Correct? Understood? Nutrients consumed by plants and animals are returned to the environment. Nutrient cycle questions comes in the NEET also. And nutrient consumed by plants and animals are returned to the environment after death and decomposition and the cycle continues. जो भी हमने न्यूट्रिएंट्स लिए हैं, अगर कोई मरता है या डिके होता है तो कोई भी प्लांट है या एनिमल है या मैन है, एनिमल में मैन भी आते हैं, सभी कुछ आते हैं, मैनकाइंड भी आते हैं, एनिमल्स भी आते हैं, मैमल्स। तो जब इनकी बॉडी डिके हो जाती है तो जो उसमें न्यूट्रिएंट्स है then that goes back to the soil. We take the nutrients, plant takes the nutrients from the plants and after decaying, these nutrients again goes to the soil system. Then this cycle goes on. This is called the nutrient cycle. Okay? Soil microbes play an important role in nutrient cycle. Then they decompose organic matter to release nutrients. They are also important in trapping and transform nutrients into the soil, which can be taken up by the plant's roots again. So, nutrient cycle in such a way, this nutrient cycle rate depend on various biotic, physical and chemical factors, abiotic factors. Correct? जैसे कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल कार्बन साइकिल, नाइट्रोजन साइकिल, वाटर साइकिल, ऑक्सीजन साइकिल, right? Such type of cycles are exist there. Carbon cycle, gaseous cycles means जिसको we can say the gaseous cycle also. The nitrogen cycle, there is a water cycle, oxygen cycle. ठीक है? Now there is always a difference in nuclear cycle and energy flow. The energy flow refers to the transfer of energy. Remember this also. Transfer of energy from one trophic level to another in the food chain and food web. The energy flow refers to the transfer of energy from one trophic level to another in the food chain and food web. It is unidirectional, means it goes from lower to higher level, and energy is lost from one trophic level to another form of heat that loses. Suppose the lower level loses, then up to fifth or sixth level it almost uh, uh, nil, or at that level which cannot be used by another level. So there is no another level. Only 5 or 6 levels, trophic levels are there. Sunlight is the ultimate source of energy in that. We know that. So nutrient cycle is a cyclic process that encompasses the movement of nutrients from physical environment to living organism and back to the environment nutrients are present on the earth where they are recycled, transformed into different forms and reutilized. They are reutilized. So what are the nutrient cycle examples? Anybody can tell? Huh? That is the carbon cycle is one of the carbon. The four main nutrient cycles are, what are the main nutrient cycles are? Carbon cycle. Carbon cycle is the main constituents of all the living cells. Carbon is very important. All the organic matter and biomolecules contain carbon. You know, you might have studied the chemistry in your lower classes since you switched over after 8th or 9th or 10th. You must have studied this carbon cycle. And the carbon is important biomolecule which is present in all the organic matter. So carbon is present mainly as carbon dioxide in methane in the atmosphere. All we know, almost you know that the carbon is present in the carbon as a form of carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere. And what happens? There is a continuous exchange of carbon between the biotic and abiotic components by the process of photosynthesis and respiration. When we respire, जब हम सांस लेते हैं, and we take breath, then these there is a continuous exchange between the carbon dioxide between biotic and unbiotic. We take oxygen and release carbon dioxide through respiration, and in the photosynthesis on the same, we take the carbon dioxide and release the oxygen. Correct? Atmospheric carbon dioxide is fixed by plants in the process of photosynthesis. Right? So, in that way, it goes on. All the living organisms release carbon dioxide during respiration. So, carbon is released into the atmosphere by burning of fossil fuels and auto emissions. Then we'll take up the other things and the harms of the carbon emission and burning of fossil fuels and auto emissions, automobiles emissions as we release from car and other things. Organic carbon from dead and decaying organisms and waste product is released into the atmosphere after decomposition. Then that is inorganic carbon we release from the burning of the fossil fuels and auto emission. But organic carbon, from where it is released? It is released from the dead and decayed organism. Correct. Now the next one is uh, nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is also an essential component for the life, as all we know. Nitrogen cannot be directly utilized by living organisms, has to be converted to other form. आपने केमिस्ट्री में पढ़ा होगा, अगर आपके पास केमिस्ट्री रहा होगा, कि नाइट्रोजन जो है वो हमारा एसेंशियल पार्ट तो है, बट ये डायरेक्टली नहीं ली जा सकती, पर इट इज कन्वर्टेड टू अनदर फॉर्म. मींस अनदर फॉर्म क्या क्या है, कोई मुझे बताएगा? हाँ, what are the other forms of the nitrogen? नाइट्रस ऑक्साइड है, one can tell. तो इसमें ये from where the nitrogen is released, or we find the nitrogen by the process of nitrogen fixation. We are not going into the detail of the nitrogen fixation process, which is not, I think, the part of your study. Nitrogen fixing bacteria. There is a nitrogen fixing bacteria for the soil nutrition. Nitrogen is very important. So, nitrogen, ammonia, and nitrifying bacteria convert ammonia to nitrate. It is then taken up by the plants. Then there is a nitrogen fixation word, you might have heard that. and there is a bacteria in that जो atmosphere, the nitrogen present in the atmosphere, always present. They take the nitrogen from the atmosphere, and some are the bacteria present in the soil. They convert it in the ammonia in the presence of ammonia, and nitrifying bacteria which are present in the soil, they convert the ammonia to nitrate, which is directly taken by the plants for the growथ. तो डीकम्पोजर्स ब्रेक डाउन, इसीलिए जब आपने देखा होगा जब अच्छी खेती करनी है तो उसमें नाइट्रोजन नाइट्रेट भी हमको जो है मिलाना पड़ता है, नाइट्रोजन मिलाना पड़ता है, नाइट्रेट अमोनिया हम डालते हैं तो ताकि वो बैक्टीरिया जो है अमोनिया को नाइट्रोजन में नाइट्रेट में फिक्स कर दें और प्लांट्स की ग्रो अच्छी हो। सॉइल जो है उसमें न्यूट्रिशन वैल्यू जहां कम हो जाती है तो वहां अमोनिया खाद का हम लोग वी यूज द अमोनिया फर्टिलाइजर फॉर दिस nitrate to take the nitrate. Atmospheric nitrogen is converted to nitrates directly by lightning and assimilated by plants. Decomposers break down proteins and amino acids of the dead and decaying organic matter and waste products. Likewise, the nitrogen is released back into the atmosphere. That process, which is the nitrogen, is released back into the atmosphere. How it is possible? It is denitrifying bacteria convert ammonia and nitrates to nitrogen. Now there are other bacteria denitrifying which convert ammonia and nitrates to nitrogen, and this nitrous oxide by the process of denitrification. डीनाइट्रिफिकेशन प्रोसेस क्या होता है? जो अमोनिया और नाइट्रेट को नाइट्रोजन में कन्वर्ट करके नाइट्रस ऑक्साइड में करके और नाइट्रोजन रिलीज बैक इनटू द एटमॉस्फेयर, दैट इज डीनिट्रिफाइंग प्रोसेस, डीनिट्रिफिकेशन प्रोसेस कहलाता है, दैट इज कॉल्ड डीनिट्रिफिकेशन प्रोसेस. So this cycle goes on, it repeats. This is a cycle. Plants or soil takes the nitrogen from the atmosphere, and again that nitrogen, after using by the plants, and then the denitrifying process, through the denitrifying process it is released back into the atmosphere. That is called denitrification. Then there is an oxygen cycle. Then there is an oxygen cycle. What is that? Is oxygen cycle is very essential for life, as all we know. That is very important. Why? Because the oxygen is required, essential. Aquatic organisms are dependent on oxygen, which is dissolved in the water. It depends on the dissolved oxygen. That's why the dissolved oxygen concentration of the dissolved oxygen in a water is important, because it is required by the aquatic environment. In a lake or in a wasteland or on a pond, on a river, the dissolved oxygen is important. So photosynthesis is the main source of oxygen present in the atmosphere. We all know that during the process of photosynthesis, the oxygen is released in the atmosphere. Atmospheric oxygen is taken up by the living organism, by the animals, and by us, by man and other living organisms in the process of respiration, and release carbon dioxide, which is used for photosynthesis by the plant. Why we insist on growing more and more plants? Because they take the carbon dioxide and release the oxygen. The carbon dioxide is used by the plants for the purpose of photosynthesis. Correct? Then there is a hydrologic cycle or water cycle. Then the water cycle, what type of cycles are there? Then the hydrologic cycle, or we can say that the water cycle. What is that? Water cycle? Someone can tell me, please? What is the hydrologic cycle? आप कुछ प्रिज्यूम करके देखिए कि आपको वाटर साइकिल क्या लगता है अपने इकोसिस्टम में। आप कोई बताएंगे? बताइएगा। सुभाष, सुभाष आप बताएंगे? सुभाष जी।
नहीं
सर
बता दो।
हाँ बताइए।
सर वाटर साइकिल में तो ट्रांसपिरेशन से एक तो पानी जाता है एटमॉस्फेयर में, और
हाँ
इवेपोरेशन से जाता है, फिर
करेक्ट,
बाद में वो कंडेंस होके क्लाउड्स फॉर्म होते हैं, और फिर
गुड
प्रेसिपिटेशन यानी कि रेन या फिर स्नो के फॉर्म में वापस आ जाता है लैंड पे।
गुड, दैट इज गोज डाउन, दैट इज द वाटर साइकिल। वेरी गुड। आपने पढ़ के बताया, आपको मालूम था?
सर ये तो कई बार पढ़ा है छोटी क्लासेस में।
हाँ, छोटे क्लासेस में पढ़ा है, इसीलिए मैंने आप लोगों से पूछा कि आपको पता होगा कि हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट इट इज दिस फॉर आवर वाटर फ्रॉम ओशन, lakes, rivers and other reservoirs is continuously converted to vapor. And what are the reasons for that? That is the temperature, sunlight, energy. So we, what we see in our ecosystem, we are all dependent on each other. Energy, sunlight, and all the things. All depends on, in water cycle, we closely observe sometimes when you sit alone and observe the ecosystem surrounding you. You will find many interesting things and just enjoy that the work of nature. So converted by the process of evaporation and transpiration from the surface of the plants. ट्रांसपायरेशन क्या होता है? एवोपरेशन तो एक एनर्जी से हो गया। ट्रांसपायरेशन द वाटर वेपर्स फ्रॉम सरफेस ऑफ द प्लांट्स, जो प्लांट से जाती है, वाटर जो लेते हैं, इनटेक करते हैं, जो छूटता है वो ट्रांसपायरेशन प्लांट से कहलाता है। Water vapors get condensed, then they are condensed into the atmosphere due to the variation in the temperature, heat, and other things, and returned by the precipitation, and the cycle continues. Then what happens when the temperature or wind and other conditions develop? Then the precipitation or rainfall occurs. Then it comes back to the on the the falling water. When the water rainfall is occurs on the ground, what happens? Something is the surface water and some is called absorbed by the ground, that is stored in the ground level, underground level water, that is the groundwater, that is stored in the groundwater. So if there is a less precipitation in some area, then the groundwater level always goes down because uh, there is no percolation. So, in such a way, this cycle goes on. If there, and now observe one thing. In that particular cycle or any cycle, uh, uh, any other cycle which I told you, then there is a disturbance or main disturbance is there. Then the whole cycle is get disturbed, and nowadays we are seeing that the water level is always goes down. Suppose there is a rainfall, but we have not left any ground uncovered to percolate down the water, groundwater into the ground. So if rainfall occurs, that flows back to the sea and rivers and ultimately goes into the oceans. And but there is a disturbance. We are affecting our environment adversely. So we are all the culprit as well as users. So this cycle goes on. Importance. What are the importance of these nutrient cycling? All are the parts of the nutrient cycle. All living organisms, biomolecules, and cells are made up of carbon, हाइड्रोजन, एज ऑल वी नो। सारे लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म से जो बायोमॉलिक्यूल्स एंड सेल्स आर मेड अप ऑफ कार्बन, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, and phosphorus. Suppose we have in a body man in our organism have the hydrogen, oxygen we take that for the respiration, nitrogen we have, sulfur and phosphorus, all elements are for organism. It is important to recycle nutrients into the environment for a life to exist. This should replenish. Otherwise, all the things will not survive. All the organisms will not survive. So nature has created this cycle taking place continuously. What required for the transformation of nutrients from the one form to another, so that organism and it has to be fixed. Plant direct nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen cannot, and nitrate for uptake, as in nitrous oxide. ये फिक्स करते हैं जब बैक्टीरिया होते हैं, वो बैक्टीरिया इसको फिक्स करते हैं. ट्रांसफॉर्म ऑफ न्यूट्रिएंट्स फ्रॉम वन प्लेस टू अनदर फॉर यूटिलाइजेशन. तो इसमें क्या होता है, दैट इज द एयर टू सॉइल और वाटर. ट्रांसफर होते रहते हैं न्यूट्रिएंट्स फ्रॉम वन प्लेस टू अनदर फॉर यूटिलाइजेशन थ्रू विच मींस क्या है इनके ट्रांसफर होने के. एक तो एयर है, एयर के थ्रू ट्रांसफर होते हैं. दूसरे सॉइल, हवाएं चलती है थ्रू द वाटर और रिवर. सारी चीजें जो है, these are the reasons for the transfer of nutrients from one place to another place for utilization of our nutrient cycling keep the ecosystem in a equilibrium. I tell you, for balance it is important to create between all the things and help in storing nutrients for future uptake. Through nutrient cycling, living organism interacts with the abiotic components of their surrounding. करेक्ट. अपने सराउंडिंग्स में वो सारी चीजें लेते हैं और थ्रू लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म ये दे इंटरेक्ट विद abiotic components of their surrounding. It is very important to interact with each other in a ecosystem. Now we have covered most of the part, gaseous cycle and water cycle we have covered. Now the carbon cycle we have covered, and global carbon cycle is the same as the if we take the globally. Nitrogen cycle and
सर डिफरेंस क्या है ग्लोबल कार्बन साइकिल और कार्बन साइकिल में?
देखिए, कार्बन साइकिल एक ग्लोबली जो कार्बन साइकिल है, सम कार्बन हैव लॉन्ग टर्म साइकिल परफॉर्म्ड एज ए लॉन्ग टर्म साइकिल होता है, तो उसको ग्लोबल कार्बन साइकिल कहते हैं, जिसमें कई many things accumulates. This is not so important, but you need to understand what is the carbon cycle. You can say some long term cycle as a global carbon cycle. That is nothing, I think. This these are the rocks and other things. Not much, I think, use for you people at the initial levels, but you know that you should know only the long term referred cycle. लॉन्ग टर्म जो साइकिल है वो दैट इज द ग्लोबल कार्बन साइकिल कहलाता है. बाकी आप इसमें ज्यादा ना जाओ. इट इज अ लॉन्ग लॉन्ग स्टडी. सक्सेशन on ecological suggestion we'll take up in the next class, I think. Okay. Now, if you have any question, please.
Excuse me,
Sir,
sir.
sedimentary cycle.
Ask. You are free to ask.
So what is the phosphorus cycle?
Sedimentary cycle आप जैसे
Sir, sedimentary cycle.
I'm just telling you, know what is the sedimentary cycle. Actually, sedimentary cycle जैसा कि आपको पता है कार्बन साइकिल. अब इसके जो पार्ट है कार्बन साइकिल या जो मैंने वाटर आपको बताया, तो उसमें एक सेडिमेंट्री साइकिल है जिसमें अदर मटेरियल जैसे फास्फोरस है, कैल्शियम है एंड मैग्नीशियम सर्कुलेट बाय मींस ऑफ द सेडिमेंट्री साइकिल. ये सेडिमेंट्री रॉक्स आपने पढ़ी होंगी, ठीक है. sulfur is since two of the compound hydrogen sulfide and sulfur dioxide, that is also the part of the gaseous component. Okay, तो it is normally ये जो सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड और सल्फर ऑक्साइड है, सल्फाइड हाइड्रोजन सल्फाइड्स है या सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड है, ये किसका नॉर्मली सेडिमेंट्री साइकिल का पार्ट है तो गैसियस साइकिल. It is a gaseous cycle. These elements involved in the sedimentary cycles normally does not cycle through the atmosphere, but follows the basic pattern of the flow through erosion. I first use that. What are the mediums? Air, water. I told you that for the transfer of these nutrients, what is the requirement? Wind, air, the same thing, water and other energy. तो इसके लिए क्या है कि हमें जो है ये गैसेस इसके जो ट्रांसफर के लिए ये किसके लिए सेडिमेंटेशन. व्हाट इज द सेडिमेंटेशन प्रोसेस? From erosion. Suppose soil goes from one place to another place through wind, and sedimentation takes place. Mountain take place in that way, and what happens? The sedimentary rocks are made through this process. Mountain where means mountains are built, volcanic eruptions are taking place, some place biological transfer through the excreta of marine birds, like that. Then the sulfur is transferred from other place to another place in the form of the sulfur hydrogen sulfide or sulfur dioxide. Then in that way the water is also gone. So this is all the transfer of the sulfur hydrogen sulfide and sulfur dioxide is normally called the sedimentary cycle. So this is the one type of the gaseous cycle. So now the main thing I told you, the gaseous cycle, and all are the parts of this. Now the sulfur transfer of this sulfur disulfide, hydrogen sulfide and sulfur dioxide is the hydrogen cycle. Okay. Now anything related to your
Excuse me, sir.
study, related to your exam and other things, you can ask.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
वो कल आपने कहा था कि आप पीडीएफ डाउनलोड कर सकते हो क्या आपके सेमेस्टर के एग्जामिनेशन और असाइनमेंट्स के लिए. तो कल मैंने जाके इग्नू प्लस से वो पीडीएफ डाउनलोड की, जुलाई 23 टू जून 24 सेशन वाली.
हाँ ठीक है.
तो उसमें सिर्फ 4 सब्जेक्ट के असाइनमेंट के क्वेश्चन आए हुए हैं और एग्जाम तो हम जैसे जून में पूरे 8 सब्जेक्ट के
देंगे
देंगे
ना, 8 का देंगे.
हाँ.
ठीक है, ठीक है. तो अभी
तो बाकी 4 सब्जेक्ट के असाइनमेंट के क्वेश्चन कब मिलेंगे?
आ जाएंगे, विद इन अ वीक आ जाएंगे.
अच्छा, मतलब ये 4 करके हमें पीडीएफ मिलेंगे?
हाँ नहीं, 4 करके एकदम से भी अवेलेबल होंगे. सपोज कीजिए आपको मार्च में करना है, तो अभी तो जनवरी भी नहीं स्टार्ट हुआ है, तो
जी.
आप जनवरी के मिड में देख लीजिएगा. अगर जनवरी के लास्ट तक नहीं आते हैं, इफ दैट आर नॉट रिफ्लेक्टेड इन द वेबसाइट, then
Okay.
the available assignment you can submit. Right.
ओके 4 सब्जेक्ट के तो सर आ चुके हैं, बस 4 के
हाँ
और
जी,
बाकी है।
4 के और आ
हाँ,
जाएंगे, अगर नहीं आते हैं तो
व्हाट आई
आप
एम
जो
आस्किंग
जो अवेलेबल है
व्हाट आई
वो
एम
आप
आस्किंग द अनदर क्वेश्चन इज कैन वी सबमिट इट टू जनवरी?
if your study center allows and they accept, then you can submit.
Okay, because we have to go to the abroad the country, so in January, and we will return after the 15th of March. That's why can we
That is
submit
not,
it into?
Gufran,
Yes,
that is
sir.
not the issue. If you are going to
Okay.
abroad, you can go, and you are coming back in the March, you can submit
Okay.
up to 31st March, or the date extend. Normally, the date extend up to 15th April or 30th April. So that is
15th
not
March is the date they're given.
no. That is the 31st March. It always.
Okay.
So that is not the important. And in case you are stuck there due to
Okay.
some reasons, then you can always send your assignments at your study center address by post also,
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
or your study regional center address.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
That is not the issue. Anything else?
So I had a question.
Go.
So I wanted to know, as you said yesterday for the class, that we'll be having objective type of answers.
Yes.
So usually, how many marks is the objective type of answers?
Pardon? How many?
Usually, how many marks? Is it does objective type answer usually come for like 5 marks, 10 marks, 20 marks?
No, it will be 100 marks questions. There will be 100 questions for 2 hours. Then you can attempt that. Correct?
Yes.
Unless until there is a change in the examination pattern, you should prepare for the. But remember that it is a OMR based sheet examination, and you have to score the 35 marks to clear this paper. If there is a
सर कितने क्वेश्चंस आएंगे?
मेरे ख्याल से 100 आएंगे, अगर 50 भी आते हैं तो आपको उससे क्या है. So there is this paper will be for 2 hours, and there will be a 100 questions. ठीक है ना?
ओके सर.
और फिर
Okay.
आपको इसी तरीके से 35 मार्क्स आपको स्कोर करने हैं टू क्लियर दिस पेपर. करेक्ट?
ओके सर.
This is the only application based paper, so you have to clear it, and but it is always added in your percentage. So try to score as much mark as you can, because it is a very easy and general type paper course. All we should know about our environment. Correct? Now, anything else, or we should say goodbye to each other? Okay, friends. Happy New Year to all of you and your family, and good luck for the.
Same to you,
Same
sir.
to you, sir.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you, each one of you.
Same to
Same
you.
to you,
sir.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.